today we're going to go on a journey. We're going to go on a journey of deep within. And it doesn't matter what time you're watching this or when you've come along, because it's the perfect time. And you're here. You're here because you're ready to remember. You're here because no longer is the basic things okay. And you've seen something deeper and bigger, greater. Maybe you've gazed into the mirror finally. There comes a point in this journey where the question is no longer, is the kingdom within? We've heard it. We've even felt it. And we've tasted it. So in day one, we showed us the kingdom is not somewhere else, right? In day two, he showed us the temple must fall and the illusion must burn. And today we ask something different. How do we live? How do we live in this now? And how do we walk in a world that's still built on illusions after seeing that truth lives within us? Because see, the awakening is not just a movement or a moment of revelation. It's a way of being. It's this new center of gravity for those of us that have recognized. It is a different way of moving through your life even. And this is where many people get stuck, to be honest. We glimpse into the kingdom within, just a glimpse. We feel that taste of the fire of deconstruction. We start to go and do deconstructive courses. The old structures fall even. But then they ask, what do I do now? I mean, if there is no external God to appease, no temple to cling to, no distant salvation to chase, how do I live? How do I live in this now? This is the heart of today. And we're not just going to talk about awakening. We are going to talk about living from awakening. Because once the kingdom is recognized within you, your entire relationship changes and life begins to change. And not in theory. In practice. In the body. In the mind. In even relationships. In even how you meet fear, pain, and uncertainty. How you flow in this life. And how you meet joy, beauty, and love even. See, if Christ consciousness is within you, then you are no longer living as someone separate from God. You're no longer I am not, you're I amness. You're not trying to get closer, trying to earn favor, trying to manage worthiness. You are living as someone who has already won an essence, learning to remember trust in the body, the reality. Even Yeshua said, I and the Father are one, and he was not bragging. He was revealing a state of consciousness, a union beyond separation. So what happens when that realization begins to arise within you? Not as a belief anymore, but as a lived experience. First, you are no longer just personality trying to be good enough. You are no longer just wounded story trying to heal itself. You are no longer just a sinner trying to be forgiven. You are awareness itself, wearing a human form. You are I am that I am. Before all labels, you are the living temple. And when you start to live from this, guilt begins to lose its grip. shame loses its grip, and fear begins to lose its grips. And not because you ignore them, but because you see them completely differently. You see them as old echoes, old programs, old survival strategies, not as your identity. Even psychologically, this is a shift from living as ego to living as awareness. The ego is not evil, it is simply limited. It was built to protect, to manage, to control. But it cannot comprehend union. It cannot comprehend oneness. It cannot comprehend kingdom within, because its entire existence is built on separation. So day 3, today, is about learning to stop living from ego as the master and beginning living from awareness as the center. Hi. See, the mind can be a tool. The ego can be a servant, but truth is the source. Christ consciousness is the source. The kingdom within is the source. Now, what does it look like in daily life? It looks like this. You begin to pause before reacting. You begin to ask, from where am I about to respond? From fear? From old story? From survival? From need to prove? From need to please? No, because I am that I am. I am the kingdom within. Because then with the kingdom within, you react from presence, clarity, love. From truth, you begin to notice when you feel triggered, when someone rejects you, when conflict arises, when you feel abandoned. The old temple wants to rise back up, but the old identity wants to rebuild itself, and you go, and it has this moment of, I'm not enough, I'm unsafe, I'm alone, God is distant. But then what happens? You wait, because you know truth, and you step back, you go, wait, no, and you breathe, and you return to the kingdom within, the I am that I am. You return to awareness that is watching this trigger, this emotion, this thought, and you return to the presence that does not move with circumstances, when circumstances move. And this is not denial. This is deeper honesty. And you feel the emotion fully, but no longer confuse the emotion with your essence. You experience the pain, but you no longer make your pain your identity. You feel fear, but you no longer place fear on the throne. And this is where science meets spirituality. Neuroscience tells us the brain rewires through repeated experiences and attention. And if your attention constantly returns to fear, your nervous system is shaped by fear. And if your attention returns to presence, your nervous system begins to reorganize around presence. Not just repeated positive words, reorientating your entire inner system around the truth that the kingdom is within. See, scripture speaks to this. Psychology speaks to this. Nature speaks to this. I mean, look at nature. That's one of the biggest places for me that's been the biggest teacher of all, is that a tree does not live from fear at all. It doesn't live from fear of the future. It lives rooted. It lives present. And its branches move with the wind, but the roots hold it steady. Living from the kingdom within is like becoming rooted. Not in doctrine, not in belief alone, but rooted in direct knowing. Rooted in presence. Rooted in what you are beneath the story. And this is not about perfection. This is about orientation. What is your life facing? Towards an external God to impress, or towards an inner kingdom to remember? Towards endless self-judgment, or towards ongoing self-revelation? It's about choosing again and again and again to return to what is true within, and you will still have moments of forgetting. You will still have moments of fear. And you will still have moments where the old temple tries to rebuild, and that is okay. Awakening is not the performance, it is a relationship. A relationship with the kingdom, a relationship with the Christ I am that I am within. Then the relationship deepened through practice, through time, through attention, through honesty. Let's talk about relationship with others. Because living from the kingdom within changes how you love. In the old way, love was often transactional. I love you if you make me feel safe. I love you if you do this. I love you if you validate my identity. I love you if you agree with my beliefs. And when the temple falls, you begin to see that this is not love. This is agreement. This is comfort. This is validation. Real love arises from the inner kingdom, and it does not need the other to be perfect. It does not need the other to fully understand. It does not require sameness. It flows from union. Christ consciousness, you begin to see the same presence in others, even when their mind is asleep, even when their behavior is wounded. You start to recognize this person is not just their trauma, not just their conditioning, not just their defense. They too have the kingdom within. They too carry the divine spark. They too are more than their mask. And this does not mean you tolerate abuse. It does not mean you ignore boundaries. It means your love is no longer rooted in illusion. You can set boundaries from truth, not from hatred. You can walk away from what harms you without making the other less divine. Hey, you can forgive because you see that both of you have been moving through illusion. And this is where forgiveness stops being religious checkbox and becomes a natural response when you realize everyone has been trapped in layers of misunderstanding. And the kingdom within does not mean everything is easy. It means everything is seen from a deeper place. Work, changes too. You no longer work just to survive or to prove worth. You begin to work as expressions. Your life becomes an extension of the kingdom. You speak, you teach, create, parent, build, serve. Not to love, not to get love, but to pour out what you already are. And this is embodiment. Awakening, moving through your hands, your voice, your choices. And you realize, my calling is not separate from the kingdom. My body is not separate from the kingdom. My emotions are not separate from the kingdom. My creativity is not separate from the kingdom. It is all one movement, one life, one presence. And this is union. This is I and the Father are one, lived as inhuman, not as an abstract idea, as breathing reality. Now let's speak about shadow, because it is not about bypassing. And when the temple falls, what was hidden in its shadow begins to surface. Old pain, old anger, old grief, old resentment. Jung called this the shadow, the part of us that we do not want to see. Plato spoke of the cave, the place where, that we mistaken the shadow on the wall for reality. And day 3, and we talked about living means you are willing to turn and face the shadow, not as punishment, as integration. You're willing to bring light into the cave. You're willing to let the consciousness touch the places you have banished. And this is not about judging yourself for your shadows. This is about meeting it in awareness. When anger arises, you do not say, this proves I am unspiritual. You say, here is a wounded part of me coming forward. Let me meet it from the kingdom. When fear arises, you do not say, I've lost awakening. You say, here is an old pattern that still believes I am separate. And let me bring it into the truth of union. This living is my mysticism. You are not just using the language of awakening. You are letting awakening touch everything. No hidden rooms, not locked doors, no forbidden emotions. The kingdom within is not fragile. It does not need you to be perfect. It simply asks you to be honest, present, available. From a scientific perspective, this emotional integration. From a psychological perspective, this is healing. From a spiritual perspective, this is sanctification. Not as a becoming worthy, but as a revealing what has always been worthy beneath the wounds. And now another dimension is trust. Trust in what? Trust in the inner kingdom itself. Trust in yourself. Trust that you are held within, from within, not by a distant deity who might abandon you, but by presence that will never leave you, because it is you. You know, Yeshua said, I am with you always. We have often imagined it as a separate person following us. What if it is pointed to something deeper? What if the presence is the same awareness that looks, through your eyes, that breathes through your breath, that love even when your mind is confused? And this is why fear of abandonment begins to dissolve. You realize, I cannot lose what is within me. I cannot be abandoned by what I am. What I truly am has never left. It was only covered. It was only forgotten. It's about living as someone who knows this, not perfectly, but increasingly, gradually, like the way down, the dawn slowly turns into day. And at the first light, it is faint. Then it grows and it clarifies. And then you see more and more. This is awakening over time, and as the light grows, your life aligns, and you begin to make different choices. Not because someone is policing you or looking down at you, because your inner compass shifts and you begin to speak truth even when it costs you comfort. You begin to follow your inner guidance even when it challenges old structures, and you begin to honor your body because you recognize it is a temple of presence. You begin to create from inspiration rather than obligation. You begin to say yes to what awakens you and no to what numbs you. And this is what happens when the kingdom is not just an idea in your mind, but a lived reality in your bones. You walk differently, you love differently, you pray differently, and prayer becomes less because, please, God, come from the outside and rescue me. And more, let me awaken to what is already here. Let me listen, let me align. Union, turns petition into communion. You stop trying to manipulate reality, and instead you begin to participate with it. You instead begin to participate with it. Like you flow with it, you move with it, you become in a union of one breath because you recognize I am this. And you listen for movement of the kingdom within. And you rest in it. You speak when it speaks. You stay silent when silence is truer. And this is the partnership with the oneness of recognizing I am that I am. Not with a distant power, but with the very presence that lives within you as you are within it and you are within you. It is inseparable. And as this deepens, something else happens. The divine spark is recognized, and you realize the world itself can be seen differently. Not just as a place of suffering, but as a field of awakening. Not just as a prison, but as a classroom. Not just as something to escape, but as something to reveal truth through you. And you begin to see the fire in the world, the conflict, the division, the chaos is often just a reflection of the fire that of awakening within. And passing through old collective structures, you stop being surprised that the world resists change, and you understand we as a collective are going through deconstruction too, and the temple after temple falling, and systems after systems exposed, and illusions after illusions burning, and your role is not to hide. Your role is to stand as the living temple, a living reminder, a living expression of the kingdom within in the midst of all of it. You are not here to just escape. You are here to embody love, to embody clarity, to embody courage, to embody truth, to embody Christ consciousness as human beings in a human world. Not just revelation, not just deconstruction, embodiment. So as we come to the close of this, hear this, the kingdom is within you. The temple of illusion is falling. Christ consciousness is awakening, and you are invited, not just to understand this, but to live in this. And let it touch you, how you speak, how you think, how you feel, how you love, and how you walk in the world. You will not be perfect. You will not get it right every day, but you are perfect because you are that divine. You are not being graded because you are being invited into a new way of being, invited into life where you are no longer live as someone separate from God, waiting to be accepted, but as someone who realizes you have never been separate. You are I am that I am. And all that is falling is the illusion. All that is burning is what could never truly hold you. And what remains is what has always been here. Presence, union, life, love, kingdom within you. And now as you walk from here, you do not walk alone. You walk as a living temple. You walk as a carrier of the kingdom. You are the kingdom. You walk as an expression of I am that I am. You walk as someone who is slowly, steadily learning to live from what eternally is true. And that is the real beginning right there. Being in I am. All right, you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace and love. You all take it easy.